Hola. What is going on, everybody? Sorry, I had a little bit of technical difficulties with my microphone to start the show. It looks like my camera might be flipping out again, but we'll see how it goes. How's everybody out there doing? We have a full slate to talk about today. It's not going to take too long. But as you can see, I'm stepping it up pre-New Year. Not quite New Year. New look. I'm cleanly shaven. How about that? Got the hair did. Nice shirt on. Nice new sweater. Feeling all Cosby. And not in a gross way, but you know what I mean. And also, I'm not wearing a hat. How often does that happen? Never. Usually recently I've been in my Santa hat. I'm in my Santa hat on the thumbnail, but no, I'm just raw dogging the head today. How about that? All right, just checking on a few thins here. Okay. Let me do a re-X real quick. How'd everybody's weekend go? It is. It's Tuesday, isn't it? I usually go live on Wednesdays if I ever go live. I still might go live tomorrow. It depends on what all we get to today, because some of this I might go a little long with. I don't want to be live for too long, maybe about an hour. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. And there's a lot of entertainment news popping up recently. If you're into like the news, like outside of entertainment, like it was a bad weekend. I mean, good for content, bad for humanity. It's just a terrible, awful, god awful weekend. Yeah, so I want to talk about a few things before I get into the. Man, I'm gonna turn my heater off here. That heater actually is part of my weekend. I was told by my HVAC guy, because we've been having some heat problems. I'm like, well, I don't want to use a space heater because they drain your electricity. They're horrible for your electric bill, all this other stuff. Oh, man. All right, sorry. I just saw a headline. But anyway. So I asked him, I was like, are there any energy efficient ones? He's like, yeah. And he told me about this brand, Eden Pure. And I just so happened, I was visiting my family, and I went into a thrift shop up there, because that's what you do when you visit family. And I, across the room, saw this, the Eden Pure heater. It goes for over $200. We made sure it worked and everything. They sold it for $35. Nuts. Yeah, it's I had to jump on that. But anyway, any hoozle. Before we get into the big topics, just as people are filing in, did anybody see the new trailer for Animal Farm? I keep forgetting the author. Farm author. George Orwell, yeah. I keep thinking Orson Welles, and I'm like, that's not it. It's George Orwell. I never read the book, but I know what it's about. It was never assigned to me in school or anything like that. But it's and people have tried to debate about its meaning after his passing, and say, well, actually, he was a big socialist, and it was in defense of communism. But communism done right and whatever. It was an anti-communist scree, is what it was, and It's a beloved book. It's right up there with his 1883 book for like dystopian worlds and whatnot. And they're making it. Andy Serkis is making it into an animated, like Pixar looking film. But the way he's doing it is he brought in all of these celebrities to voice the characters like you do, and Seth Rogen is the freaking main pig, Napoleon, in the movie. And it's no longer anti-communist. Now it looks like it's anti-capitalist, and they've added like these fictionalized characters. Well, they're all fictionalized, but these new characters into it that were not in the book, in this corporation and whatever. And they're completely changing it and dumbing it down because Andy Serkis himself was like, well, we don't want to make it too political. The whole point of the book is a political message. You can't make that into a movie while leaving out the political message. That's the whole damn point. And then they still got political, but it's the opposite political message. So, I don't know. It's really stupid. I usually love Andy Serkis, but when I see starring Seth Rogen, I'm instantly checked out. I'm like, He's done some good stuff. Like, he was heavily involved in Invincible. I still have not watched season 2 yet. I watched, like, the first episode of season 2. I gotta catch up on it, but yeah, so there's that. So the other thing I've been seeing, I want to bring this up from X, is it's like the 8-year anniversary of the release of The Last Jedi. Horrible film. Absolute dog water bullcrap film. Rian Johnson should be ashamed of himself, but I think the man is incapable of shame. Glass Onion was also an abomination, and I will watch Wake Up Dead Man, but he won't get my views if you catch my drift. I was gonna watch it just to see. It's like, okay, I liked Knives Out. It was fun. Glass Onion was just awful because he's a terrible writer, and instead of coming up with a good mystery, he lied to the audience to be like, look, I'm smarter than you. Actually, you couldn't figure it out because I lied to you and left information out and whatever. It's really bad. I prefer the Agatha Christie stuff. Like Murder on the Orient Express was great. Death on the Nile was great. And then, what was the last one? A Haunting in Venice. That one was fine. I saw that one in theaters. It was fine. Still not bad, but man, I'm really hoping for the best with this. But either way, back to The Last Jedi. Terrible film that went against not only everything Star Wars, and completely just destroyed characters and made you hate other characters, unnecessarily. And it was a big girl power, rah-rah movie for reasons, I guess. And then he spent half of the movie on some stupid casino planet that made no sense whatsoever. I'd rather be back with the Ewoks. I'll tell you that. That whole part of The Last Jedi was just boring skip material. Nobody cared. But regardless, people are now, and it's bots. It's just it. And when I say bots, I don't mean they're not real people. I just mean they create these accounts specifically to push narratives. There are real people behind them. It's not like a robot algorithm, but it's people that they hardly ever reply to anybody. They just post bullcrap, ridiculous stuff, and then all the other bots will come pouring in, replying to them to boost it. And unfortunately, I feed the trolls, so I reply to this stuff sometimes, and then more gets served to me, unfortunately. But yeah, I've been seeing people pretending that it was a good movie, like in any way, shape, or form. It was not. We are not going to do this. We're not going to try to rehab The Last Jedi. It's not going to happen. Like people need to just quit. Okay, just calm down, nerds. It's not. One person said it was like the greatest piece of cinema he'd ever seen. I'm like, you're either trolling, or you're begging for attention, or you're an idiot. There's not a fourth option. That's it. Those are the three. Regardless, that's I just need to get that out of my system. The other thing on X I was seeing was the whining and gnashing of teeth continues over the lack of females in the new Avengers Doomsday, and because apparently Steve Rogers is coming back. They're crying about that too because they're like, I get it. He had a good send off. That should have been it, but they're bringing him back, and they're like, well, that's disrespectful to Captain Falcon there, because Sam, who gives a crap, is the new Captain America now. Like, no, his movie sucked. It didn't do well. Nobody wants him, other than a very vocal minority on X. Nobody wants Sam Wilson as Captain America. Not because they hate Sam Wilson. And I've mentioned this before. I loved him as Falcon. I thought Falcon was a great character. I thought Sam Wilson was a great character. As Captain America, no thank you. And Brave New World was like their way of getting a Hulk sequel in there and everything else. And it was just not good. Like, I had a little fun with the movie, but I'm just like, okay, so this is really not a Captain America movie. It's a Hulk movie. Okay. Without the Green Hulk, by the way, he's not in there. Got to get the Red Hulk in. But yeah, they're still crying about lack of, like, oh, where are all these female characters that they've been building up over the last like 10 years? Like, they sucked. Nobody liked them. They didn't make any money. Or they made money once because Marvel fooled everybody. Like, look at the Marvels. They're complaining that Captain Marvel is nowhere to be seen. I'm like, dude, the Marvels was a gigantic bomb. Nobody wanted to see that. Nobody cares about Ms. Marvel. Nobody cared about Captain Marvel. And nobody gave a crap about Monica Rambeau, that's for sure. Nobody even knows who that is. And then where's Wanda? Like, pretty sure Wanda died at the end of Doctor Strange Mom, which also was not a good movie. And I love Doctor Strange, but that movie was just god-awful. But the crying continues, whether it's real or not. I swear it's all botted people, the same stuff, posting like little saucy gifs along with their stuff about, we're going to boycott this movie. Like, good for you, man. Like, people who actually like Marvel and the characters that matter will go to see it. I haven't been to the theaters and heaven knows when. I watch everything at home. Yes, I'm part of the problem, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I just don't go to theaters very often. No, thank you. Anyway, getting into the real stuff here, I wanted to start off with a depressing thing, kind of move into less depressing stuff here. Here we go. I'm just going to go from the AP because they just usually shoot it straight with this kind of stuff. Rob Reiner, son of a comedy giant who became one in turn, dies at 78. This was crazy. I couldn't believe when I saw this pop up. Rob Reiner, the son of a comedy giant who became one himself, as one of the preeminent filmmakers of his generation, with such movies such as The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, and This Is Spinal Tap, has died. He also did Stand By Me, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Lesser known Stephen King movie because it's not a horror film. He was 78. Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found fatally, ended with a knife Sunday at their home in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Police Department on Monday arrested the Reiner's 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, and booked him on suspicion of ending his parents' lives. It's absolutely insane. Let me see. This article as well. Rob Reiner once made a film with his son, Nick, now suspected of ending his parents' lives. Very, very sad stuff all the way around. A decade before, 32-year-old Nick Reiner was arrested and booked on suspicion of ending his parents' lives. He and father Rob Reiner appeared to have reset their relationship after years of the son's addiction struggles as a teen. Of course, my cats just want to be all over my desk while I'm recording. They made a film together, Being Charlie. Never heard of that one, actually. Which included elements of their story. It seemed to have brought a healthy reckoning between father and son. Quote, "It forced us to understand ourselves better than we had," Reiner told the Associated Press in 2016. "I told Nick, while we were making it, I said, you know it doesn't matter whatever happens to this thing. We won already. This has already been good. We've worked through a lot of stuff," end quote. In a YouTube interview series at the time, Nick Reiner said of his youth with his father, quote, "We didn't bond a lot, and agreed that working on the film made them feel closer." Yeah, well, I wonder if they'll have the details in here. I didn't see. Apparently, they went to, they appeared together at the premiere of Spinal Tap 2. The End Continues back in September. Reiner also has a daughter, Tracy Reiner, with his first wife, director and actor Penny Marshall. I completely forgot he was married to Penny Marshall. Wow. The film blah 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 blah. Don't need to know all of that, but okay. So apparently, from everything I've read, Nick, as I mentioned, had substance abuse issues most of his life. And apparently they went to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party and got into a very loud fight, details of which were not disclosed as far as I know. But they got into a very loud fight that everybody heard, caused a big scene, and then this happened. You can kind of assume that it was over substance things. You can't say for sure, unfortunately, but I just can't. I can't imagine like what would drive a person. I don't care who your parents are, how you feel about them. Like not only your dad, which is bad enough, but also your mom. And apparently, the family's masseuse found their bodies, and then the daughter saw them shortly thereafter. That's devastating. Like my wife was talking about it from a woman's perspective. Like she was talking about, I can't imagine, this is my son who I carried for 9 months, gave birth to him, we raised him, and he just takes me and my husband out in the most brutal way you can think. Like it's not even like using a knife is a lot more intimate in the way you end someone as far as like closeness. Like you're literally close to end somebody with a knife. And I don't know how one could do that. I'm thinking maybe he was not in his right mind. Again, he did have substance issues, so maybe that was it. But even then, man, like, come on. And now his life is over. He's going to prison. Allegedly he did all this. I have to say, alleged. People get mad when you say alleged. When you say alleged, when it's clear as day somebody did something. But I learned as a reporter that you're until they're convicted in the court of law, you can actually get sued for saying, "Oh, they did it." Yeah, for sure. Even if it's plain as day they did it. Even if they said, "Yes, it was me. I'm guilty." Until they are convicted, you're not allowed to say it like definitively. Or yes, you can get sued. So it's a really stupid law and rule, but I kind of get it. Either way, this is horrible. I didn't watch a lot of things he was in himself. I didn't watch All in the Family, where he was Meathead. There were other things he was in. I'm blanking right now, but I did watch. He was Jess's dad in New Girl, and that's actually what my wife knows him as. I'd seen a lot of his movies that he's not in, but he directed. But my wife knows him as Jess's dad. Her favorite thing with him that she always remembers for some reason. I don't know why, but he's telling Nick how to make a perfect sandwich, and he's like, uh, he said his bread, lettuce, tomato, meat, 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 meat. And like this, I think that was the same episode where he was going on. He was like encouraging Nick, talking about like Nick was being very vague about his new girlfriend and whatever, and he was kind of down in the dumps. Maybe he wasn't good enough for her and all this other stuff. And Rob Reiner's character is like, building him up, and you're great, you're a great dude. Anybody would be lucky to have you, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, he's like, I'm glad you said that because my girlfriend's actually your daughter. And he's like, I'm gonna kill you, and he like chases him around the apartment. Um, it was funny. If anybody hasn't seen New Girl, it gets slept on a lot. I think because the name of it is New Girl, so people think it's like girly. But if you like the kind of humor and things like I'd say Parks and Rec, The Office, that kind of stuff, it's right along in there. Very memeable. A lot of good quotes, a lot of good characters. It's a great ensemble cast. So check that out. But R.I.P. Rob Reiner and his wife, just awful. Moving on to less depressing stuff. So John Cena retired over the weekend. He's done. Dunzo. No more. I always thought it was kind of random. He's like, let's call it quits at Saturday night's main event in December of 2025, right before Christmas. All right, I don't know why that's the retirement show now. I'm assuming it's because they just want Saturday night's main event to matter. Because Goldberg obviously retired on a Saturday night's main event, and I thought that was really random. And now John Cena. A lot of people call him the GOAT. He might be. He was never like, I don't know. Growing up, it was like one of those I love to hate him kind of things. Like, there for a while, I did get really freaking tired of him because he was always in the main event. He was always the world champion. It was like, ugh. Kind of like why my dad doesn't like Ric Flair. Not that Ric Flair was bad, but he's like, dude, like when he was, a young adult, he's like, every time I would turn it on to WCW, it's like, who's the champ? Oh, it's Ric Flair again. Well, time to go back to WWF. What's going on over there? But then again, you kind of had the same issue with Hogan for a little while too. So I don't know, but wrestling won't be the same without him, man. He's like the last of the. He's the last, one of the last of the old guard. And people pointed out there's like from the Fantastic Four of the OVW class of the early 2000s. I can't remember what year it was per se. Was it 04? 05? Something like that. I think it was 04. I might be completely wrong. Somebody in the comments. Let me know. Anyway, the Fantastic Four was like Cena, Brock, Orton, and why am I blanking, man? Batista. And Batista retired a few years ago. He's gone, and then obviously Cena's gone. Brock looks like he's on his way out the door, and I don't know how much longer Randy has in. Randy's in fantastic shape, so he could go for a while if he really wanted to. But he's getting up there in age. I mean, Cena's still in fantastic shape, but he's got a Hollywood career. So, he wants to focus more on that. I get it. And he just kind of wanted to give himself an out. He was like, all right, I'm done. End it, end scene. Drop the curtain. I can move on and not think about wrestling again. Which I get it. The Rock did not feel that way. I thought it was that way with The Rock for a while, but then he came back, and now he's like part of TKO, I think, board of directors or whatever, so he's always going to be there in some way, shape, or form. But I'll say this, the match with Gunther was above mid. It wasn't a fantastic match. I'd give it 2.5 stars out of 5. Not anything that's going to wow people, whatever. It was fine. It was really slow at the beginning. It really took a while to get into. I'm like, you guys act like so awkward with each other in the ring. Like Gunther looked like he was afraid to hurt John, which I mean I get it. You don't want to hurt the man on his way out the door. Um and and they keep giving him these retirement matches again, like with Goldberg. His match with Goldberg wasn't good, but Goldberg's old, and I mean, like physically he looks great, but ring shape, he's old. He's out of in ring shape, and he wasn't a great wrestler in his prime. So, especially now with Gunther, he was very limited, and he looked it. Well, Gunther put him out. I feel like Goldberg's retirement was very anticlimactic because it was like we knew that was going to be Goldberg's final match. It built up for a little while, him and Gunther going back and forth, but it was just kind of like he popped up. He's like, "You're next. I'm retiring," and that's it. And then we get to the match. The match was what it was. It wasn't great, and then he walked away, walked off into the sunset. They cut it off early so he didn't get his speech and all that, which really sucked. I don't know. It just felt like it didn't feel like a retirement. I felt like that one wasn't handled the best. I don't know if it's because of who he is and where he made his name. That very well could have been it. But I thought Cena's retirement was handled great because I'm looking at like the whole picture with Cena. He had a retirement tour. He had some great matches along the way. Yeah, he had that horrible heel turn. Like, and I know people are like, well, you guys wanted the heel turn for like decades, and now he finally did it and you complain. Like, yeah, because like the way they handled it. And you can say beggars can't be choosers, but seriously, it was terrible. It was a terrible heel turn. He was boring. His time in the ring as a heel was boring. His entrance got boring. Like, everything about it just sucked. I'm like, this was the worst. And on his retirement tour. And then they threw in Travis Scott, and that was lame as hell. But he did have some good matches along the way. Some. Once he turned babyface again, then he had better matches. Just, Cena doesn't know how to work heel. Which I can't blame him. He hasn't done it since, like, I don't know, pre-WrestleMania 21. So, or WrestleMania 20. Was it Yeah, pre-WrestleMania 20. Because by WrestleMania 20, he was a babyface and he never looked back. So, like, I don't blame him for not knowing how to work heel. But that makes it worse. Because you just, like, throw him out there as a heel. And I don't think it made sense either along the way. Like, the stuff he was saying to the crowd, sure, whatever. But why are you teaming with The Rock? Why are you selling your soul? Whatever, like, I don't know. It just all felt bleh. But other than that, I thought his retirement tour was great. Like, he said, hey, you get one more year of me. I'm going to be around for a whole freaking year. I got all these appearances. He appeared quite a bit. For a dude on his way out, he's like, I'm going to get him in, man. And he did. He got a lot of appearances in. Good for him. He had some banger matches. He gave shout-outs to the crowd and his past opponents that he didn't have to, but he did to make people happy, and he was having fun. I thought it was great, and the people were into it. But then you get to the match. The match was fine. It was fine. It was when it needed to be. And then he got 2 tribute packages, one before and one after the match. And I'll tell you, man, somebody had a sign in the crowd was like, man, who's cutting onions? I'm like, yeah, I get it. Because you think, I grew up not liking the guy very much. I mean, I respected him. I had a few Cena shirts, but I wasn't like a big Cena mark or anything like that. And I could see his appeal. And he did have some great matches, I've always admitted. He just wasn't my cup of tea for the longest time. But still, he'd been there forever. And I started thinking back about where I had been, what I was doing during certain big moments in Cena's career. The first one that popped up was 2015. I was at SummerSlam in Brooklyn with Greg, um, and my former co-host for new listeners. I was there with him to see him and Seth Rollins title versus title, U.S. title versus WWE title, and man, that match was a banger. Just freaking fantastic. One of the best matches I've seen live. It was great. I'd seen Cena at Raw. I believe I've seen him on SmackDown. I saw him at WrestleMania 34, where he got buried by the Undertaker in like 2 minutes. But yeah, I'm sure I've seen him at a bunch of other events too. But I've seen him live quite a few times. I watched him on pay-per-view and premium live event too many times to count. Seen him on Raw so many freaking times. Like I grew up from I was like a teenager when he debuted, but from my young teens all the way up through I'm 35 now. So long time, man. A lot of memories. I remember seeing him debut against Kurt Angle with my dad when my dad used to watch wrestling with me. And my dad insisted he's going to be a big star. And he didn't say he was going to be the greatest of all time, but, hey, he saw it, man. So my dad had an eye for that kind of stuff. He was a big star, is one of the biggest stars. He's got to go there. What in the hell? Oh, sorry, my looked like my stream cut out for a second. Weird. Anyway, sorry. Getting back to getting back to John Cena though. But I've just been seeing like the massive amounts of crying online. My God. And again, I feed the trolls so it pushes the algorithm and whatever. I get it. But dude, like all these armchair booker losers that have been watching wrestling for like 2 years, and all these AEW butt suckers that are out there like, oh my gosh, fire Triple H. He ruined the retirement of John Cena. How dare you? He lost and he tapped out. How is this possible? Nobody freaking understands a damn thing about wrestling. But man, all retirements should be handled like Sting's, where he's a 60-year-old man smashing through all of your competition forever. And then on his last night, he goes undefeated his entire time in the company for years. And then his final night in, he makes your young talent that you're trying to push, he makes them tap out. That's exactly how every retirement should be handled. And I'll say this, Sting's final event, like his actual retirement match, I thought the match was fine. The spectacle was what was the best about it. It had a lot of spectacle to it. I'm glad his sons could be there. He had Ric Flair there, and I believe Ricky Steamboat, and I don't know. He had a bunch of people there, legends and whatnot. And it was a cool night, cool moment. My buddy Caleb went there live. Him and his brother loaded up and drove to, was it North Carolina, and watched it live. Had a great night, great time. It was cool. I watched the event strictly for Sting, and it was a cool event. But I don't believe every retirement should be handled that way. I believe Cena's retirement was fun. It's what it needed to be. He got a year-long hurrah, not just like, hey, I'm retiring in a month. Hope to see you all there kind of deal. I think it was handled just fine. And considering what they're doing with Gunther, I've been seeing this too. The Gunther hate online is so forced. It's so astroturfed and forced. People are saying he's an awful wrestler. Like, give me a break. Nobody was saying this 2 years ago. Hell, a year ago, nobody was saying this. People love Gunther. They have. They still do. It's these bots and engagement farmers and just these, like I said, these AEW butt suckers that are mad that he's getting over in WWE and not in AEW. And I'm not talking about ratings or whatever. Like, I don't know. The ratings and the attendance has been up and down for WWE. I'll admit that. It's been not great, and I guarantee it's because of the price. I've talked about that. I've made videos about that before. The price point for tickets is astronomical. Nowadays, like, even if I didn't want to go to a show in the past, if my buddy was like, hey, WWE's in town, I ain't got nobody to go with, you want to go with me? I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. And like I said, even if I didn't want to go, it was still fun. It was wrestling live. I got to hang out with my friend. Sure. Now, who the hell can afford that? Unless you're like you're single and you have no mortgage, no rent, hardly any bills, you just got to worry about yourself, then okay, maybe. But like, man, or if you make like an astronomical amount of money and you don't mind wasting all that on wrestling tickets, sure. But what normal, like, average person can afford most of these seats? I'm impressed when I see these arenas packed when they are. I like that. I think that's what's driving it, not the fact that Gunther beat John Cena. Give me a break. People like Gunther. People hate Gunther, but like in a way you hate a heel, not in a oh man this guy sucks kind of way. Saying he's boring is just cope and seethe. Gunther's always been amazing. He's just getting better. And they're like, oh, he's 40, by the way. Okay, cool, dude. You know the longevity of wrestlers is like way more than it used to be, right? Come on. When he was Intercontinental Champion, he was like the workhorse of the entire company. Banger after banger after banger out there, man. Just whooping ass, taking names. When he was the World Heavyweight Champion, same thing. Bangers. And now he's rehabbing himself. They're rehabbing him after he tapped out at WrestleMania to Jey Uso. And he's getting the rear naked choke over again. He's getting the sleeper hold over again. Like, what's wrong with this? He made, like, he put it on Goldberg and took him down. He put it on John Cena and made him... People are like, well, he hasn't given up in, like, 20 years. Okay. Well, he was like, this is my last night. I can't get out of this thing. If you think about it in, like, realistic terms, think about MMA fighters. It's like, well, I'm not going to, like, risk permanent injury, and I just can't get out of this thing. So I'm gonna tap. Like, Hogan did it. Hogan did it for Kurt Angle, I think, because Hogan never taps out. But I think it was Kurt Angle who he tapped out to for the first time in like 25 years, something like that. Something crazy. He didn't do that for Ric Flair. Like, you pick and choose, man. And Gunther's a killer. Gunther beat Goldberg in his retirement match. Now he beat John Cena in his retirement match. The rumor is Brock is going to retire at is it SummerSlam next year in Minnesota? And rumor is he's going to retire there, and Gunther's going to retire him there. Or he's going to retire Brock, too. So, cool. Great. I hope he chokes him out, too. And I hear all the... I don't know how the nerds online will feel about that, because they're astroturfing the Gunther hate, and also they hate Brock because he was named in some legal papers, but he didn't actually do anything wrong, apparently. So they're like, wait, he was named in a lawsuit, but not actually sued and not accused of anything. Therefore, he's the R word. The R-A word, I'll say. That ends with an ist. Because people online are stupid. I can't stand the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community. They're dumb. They don't know anything about this. This only puts Gunther over more. And they're like, well, John Cena tells kids never to give up, and then he just gave up. I'm like, dude, He freaking tapped out in his retirement match. And they don't like the fact that he lost. They don't like the fact that he tapped out. I'm like, he put Gunther over like a monster, like he should have. This is a time-honored tradition in wrestling. Just quit watching wrestling. And everybody's booing Triple H. Oh, he's terrible. Oh, my God. Whatever. Cry harder, nerds. That's all I can say. I don't... John Cena had a fine retirement. I thought it was just fine. The only thing that could have made it more special was if it was physically at WrestleMania or something. But they're trying to make Saturday night's main event a big deal. Cena had all these tributes, all these people kissing his ass and whatever. It was great. It was a great show. Well, I don't know about the whole show. I skipped the whole show. I just watched the main event. That's all I cared about. But the tributes to him were fantastic. Everything throughout the year. Good stuff. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I guess I will wrap up. Before I wrap up with the It stuff, because there's actually a lot to get to with It, Welcome to Derry. And I'm excited to talk about it. So, real quick, y'all see they're coming out with their next villain movie for Disney. They're coming out with a Gaston live-action movie. It's not just a Gaston movie, but it's live action. And people are like, what direction are they going to go with this? Because, the trend has been people talking about, well, or the trend has been with these studios. They're like, well, we're going to make a movie. Sorry, my stuff messed up on me. Whatever. I dared to use the internet outside of my stream. Getting back to this though, but they're like, there are no bad guys, there are no evil people, they're just misunderstood, poor little sweethearts, like Cruella de Vil, who wanted to literally skin puppies and wear them, and her name means cruel devil. She's not a villain. You see, she actually watched her mom, who wasn't really her mom, die in front of her. At the hand of attack Dalmatians. I'm not making this up. And her real mom is a mean lady. That's her boss, and it's like Devil Wears Prada type situation, whatever. But she's mean, and she's a murderer too. So that's why Cruella, she's actually the good guy, and she's trying to take over this evil woman's company to get it away from her. Yeah. And then the Maleficent movie. I liked Maleficent. It was a fine movie, but they ruined the story of Sleeping Beauty at the same time. Yes, I can both like it and hate it at the same time. Like, it's really stupid. I just saw something pop up. Sorry. GPT 5.2 Pro wins praise for research breakthroughs. OpenAI's blah blah blah. Top benchmarks with 93.2% on graduate level. Diamond questions. Wow. Okay. So man, like a lot of AI stuff going on right now. I'll have to look into it deeper when I'm not on the stream. I don't know exactly what's going on. Yeah, whatever. Anyway. But yeah, the Maleficent movies ruined the backstory. Wicked ruined the Wizard of Oz. And I know, like, people are getting into this stuff or whatever, but it's like, can we not? Can we, like, people have finally had enough when they're doing that movie on Netflix called Steps, where the Cinderella's evil stepsisters are obsessed bad guys. What is going on with my... All right, we're back. This stupid thing keeps doing this. Maybe I need to update the program. I don't know. I keep forgetting to do that. But the only people that actually want to be with the prince is like a mean girl type. She's the bad one. But the stepsisters and Cinderella, ew, gross, boys. Ew, marriage. Who wants that? We're strong, independent women. And there's a dreamy ogre or whatever the hell, or troll or something like that in the movie. That's how they describe him. I'm not making it up. But the evil stepsisters, who, if you ever watch Cinderella, are terrible. No, you see they're actually the good guys now. They're not bad guys because there is no evil, except for traditional values. Those are evil. Those are bad. Stay away from them. Ew. It's ridiculous stuff. But now they're gonna do Gaston, and it's like, okay, and people are like rightfully wondering. They're like, so how are they gonna do this? Because he's a big buff, straight white man who loves women. So is it gonna be the same, or is this movie just gonna make him more evil? He's actually worse. You see, he's not just a misogynist and dumb and a big oaf. No, 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 no. You see, he's actually worse. I don't know what they're gonna do to him. Maybe he kicks puppy. Maybe he sets puppies on fire and stomps them out. Who knows? He poops in the town well. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see how that's gonna go. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see anybody racing to see Gaston. Like, I'm sure not. And the funny thing is, Matt Walsh made a joke about this, like, last week. He's like, they're never going to do that movie and try to rehab Gaston. And sure enough, we don't know if they're going to try to rehab him, but he was like, well, that's the one. What would be funny is if they race swap him. He's actually a black guy now, and so now he's a good guy. Well, you can't make him a white, big, manly, strong white guy and be not evil. That can't happen. All right. Anyway, finally, I am. Sorry, my wife is like blowing me up. All right. Now to Welcome to Derry. I know, the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's get into this. So, who's seen the finale? Anybody see the finale? It was good. I will give spoilers in this. So, if you don't want spoilers, don't listen, whatever, if you haven't seen the finale yet. But, so, I'm going to go through the finale and the lore and stuff like that from the show. I mentioned last time, if anybody, because I've read the book, I've read of it, I've watched both versions of the movies, and now I've seen Welcome to Derry. So I'm fairly well versed. I don't remember everything. I mean, the book is like this freaking thick. It's like 2,000 pages or some crap. But yeah, it's crazy. But I remember some of it for sure. So Welcome to Derry digs a lot more into the lore of it and Derry and everything, obviously. I mean, it's 8 episodes, I think? 8 or 10, I forget. But regardless. So I mentioned last time the standpipe that they all go to, that they hang out at the top of or whatever. That was a big deal in the... maybe not a big deal. It was in the book. Stanley, the Jewish kid who himself as an adult, he actually, his encounter, because they all have individual encounters with it that they don't really get to in the movies. They do, especially the new movies. They show more, but like they changed them a lot. So Stanley's, if you remember in the movie, he runs into it in his synagogue, and it's like a creepy woman in a painting that comes out, and that's how it's terrorizing him there. Now in the book, the way he does it is like Stanley's a bird watcher, and he's out trying to find certain birds, and he hears noises in the standpipe, and he goes in, and it's like big, tall, dark, and everything in there, and it is like talking to him and freaking him out and terrorizing him in there. I think there was I think there may have been another time, because the book's so freaking long, but I don't remember. That's what I specifically remember, his encounter with it in the book. So the standpipe is a shout out to that. All the turtles you see in it, I don't know if you've noticed, there's always a turtle somewhere in every version of it. That's a shout out to the book that they're just not getting into. It's what the hell was the turtle's name in it? Give me a second. Turtle. Maturin. Maturin was like a god in Stephen King's universe. They talk about him in the Dark Tower, and like all the gods are like animals or something. And Maturin is like a creator of worlds, basically. Like he's creation, and he created our galaxy by sneezing and created it by accident. So that's the Stephen King thing, and he's like the mortal enemy of it. Because it sees himself as destruction while Maturin is creation. So, but in reality, Maturin is much stronger than it. So it it sees himself on Maturin's level, but Maturin does not see himself on its level, which is why he doesn't really materialize all that much, even in the book. But that what was the ritual of Chud that they were trying to do in the movie? They do it in the book, but it's nothing like that. It has to do with the turtle and but it's a lot dumber, I think, in the book. In the new movies, they work in a lot of Native American stuff, which works, and it definitely worked in Welcome to Derry, where they reveal through the show, because they, to my recollection, they never cover in the gigantic freaking book why it landed in Derry, how he got there, why he got there, and why he's only in Derry. Like he doesn't go out, not even throughout Maine. Just he doesn't leave Derry. He's always there. I just kind of always assumed like that was his hunting ground. They always said, well, there's something wrong with Derry where they just kind of ignore stuff, and I believe it's brought along by its presence. They kind of lead you to believe that him being there kind of makes them forget and move on a lot easier. So it's easier for him to hunt there rather than go out and spread his wings, if you will, which he did in the finale, but not like that. I'll get to it. Anyway, they cover it in Welcome to Derry. They said he landed from the sky, and when he crash landed, you saw in the It movies, it was like this big, like petrified rock stuff that was whatever he got sent to Earth in. And the Native Americans figured in the Derry area, decided we're going to cage this sucker in. He seems to be averse to whatever this material is, which is kind of weird because in the movie he was like all over it. So whatever. But anyway, so they broke off pieces of it, and they said, well, whatever this is, it contained him coming to Earth, so maybe it'll contain him in Derry. And they went around the perimeter of what is now modern Derry. At the time, it was just kind of woods and whatever, and they buried pieces of it all around the perimeter, and they call it the pillars. And the pillars are, it basically cages it in, and so he can't leave Derry. And so that's a good explanation. And for some reason, here's where we're going to get into a lot of spoiler territory, so buckle up. And I'll get into like other nods to things. I touched on the standpipe, obviously, but I'll touch on other stuff here in a few. So, spoilers from here on out. But the military, led by Dexter's father, I don't know the actor's name, but he played Harry Morgan in Dexter. That's what I most remember him for, but he's very famous. Anyway, he's like the sergeant of or general. Sorry, he's like the general of the this army base in Derry. And I guess there was a. I don't remember there being an army base there, but I guess or a military base. But I guess there was in the book. It got mentioned. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But anyway, most of the show, like you get a lot of that on this show, and what they're doing. They're like going around looking for something, and you find out they're looking for the pillars, and they're using Dick Halloran from The Shining. He's in the military. They're using him to find the pillars telepathically, and it messes him up because of all the crap going on in Derry, and because he has multiple encounters with it, and it kind of fries his brain, and yeah, it's not good stuff. But they find one of the pillars and they melt it down. By the time Leroy Hanlon, who is the grandfather of Mike, keep that in mind, he figures out what they're doing, and he's like, dude, you're letting this thing out? Like, what's the point? And the general explains, he's like, well, we're going to control everybody through fear. And he's like, yeah, but you don't control this thing. And he's like, yeah, but people will act up, or will stop acting up, and they'll fly right and quit committing crimes and whatever. Like, I don't know. His logic wasn't logicking. He also had an encounter with it when he was a young child, and the only reason he knew about it was because he ran one of the main characters, a Native American woman named Rose. She saved him and helped him run from it back in like the 20s, I think 20s, before Derry was really a thing. Like it was still like a lot of wooded area, but they were starting to build like houses and stuff. But she helped him escape from it, and then she told him about everything. And then he moved with his dad because his dad was in the military, so he moved around. He left and forgot all about it because once you leave Derry, you forget. And then the military did some like mind-altering experiments on him, whatever, and it actually made him remember. And now, for some reason, even though he was terrified of it, he's like, we could use this as a weapon. How? Why? Don't know. But that was his thinking, I guess. Well, that didn't go so hot for him. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. But they melt this thing, and they melt it right after. If anybody read the book, and they mentioned this in the movies actually, there is a little area that there's like some black service members that kind of wanted their own little area away from the white service members, because they were getting dirty looks and whatever. This was the 60s. They're like, we kind of want our own place, away, kind of on our own. So they gave them like an old outpost there, and it was pretty good size. They're like, do with it what you will, whatever, just don't tell us about it. And they named it the Black Spot. And they invited all the non-white people from around town that just wanted to get away. And they all came in, and the white people in town found out about it. And they came out, locked everybody inside, torched the place, and started firing into the building as well, ending a bunch of lives. Well, this version of the Losers Club were there. Dick Halloran helps most of them escape, but unfortunately, Richie, the little Cuban boy, finds this like cooler, and he gets Marge to get inside, the girl he had a crush on. Then he lays on top of it, and because there's only room for one of them, and he makes sure she can't get out, and he dies of smoke inhalation. It seems like. But yeah, so that was like the saddest part. Like that whole episode was bad. It was a good episode, but it was really sad. And you see, like this was like, if you pay attention to it, they say every 27 years, he comes back for like a certain amount of time to feast. And then at the end of his time, there's like one really big traumatic event for the town, one big disaster, and he'll be seen there, and then he disappears to go hibernate for another 27 years. Well, that was it. He showed up, he was eating people in the fire, and the woman from does anybody remember saggy breast lady from this from It Chapter 2? Ingrid Kirsch. Yeah, that one. And it turned out it was it pretending to be her. Well, she's a real woman, and she was in this show. Her father was what you saw. This was adding more layers because none of this was in the book. Her father was Bob Kirsch, I think is his name, and or no, not her. Kirsch was her married name. Bob something, doesn't matter. And he played Pennywise the clown in a traveling circus, traveling carnival kind of deal. And Pennywise saw that and said, "Wow, you attract kids to you really well." And he decided to take on that form to attract children, and he ate Bob. Well, this woman for decades believed that Pennywise was actually her father. And so it's like, yeah, I know he's eating kids, but like he's my dad, and he comes back every 27 years to see me, and I get this, and he takes out this woman's abusive husband, like literally like cuts his head in half. And then he's like gonna go, and she wants him to stay. She's like, "Oh no, you just got here. What do you mean?" And like she's trying to talk to him, and he played along for a little bit, but he's like, "I gotta go hibernate. Screw you. Go away." And like something snaps finally. She's like, "You're not my father," and he's like, "Nope." And she's like confused at this point because she bought into it and deluded herself for all these years, and she's like, "What do you do with him?" He's like, "I ate him." Like that's what I do. I eat people. And then she's like getting more and more upset, and he makes her stare into the deadlights, and it drives her batty, more batty than she already was. So she gets shipped off to the asylum they got in town, Juniper Hill. We'll talk about that later. But either way, after that, like because they melted one of the pillars, it wakes it up. And he's like, "I'm going to spread my wings." And like a fog and snow and whatever come over town. It's devastating. And he like comes into the school, brutally takes out the principal in front of a bunch of kids, and then makes all the kids stare into his deadlights. And he's like literally leading floating children down the road to wherever the hell. But the Losers Club stop him, and Dick Halloran stops him. He takes some. Rose gives him some like Native American herb drink thing that helps him control his powers better. Give me a second. My dog's losing her crap. My goodness. Anyway, sorry about that. My dog, I don't know. We live like right on Main Street, so she sees a lot of crap throughout the day and decides to bark at it. If any of you saw a recent video of mine, she finally made an appearance on camera. She is a big Great Pyrenees, and Pyrenees love to bark. Anyway, back to Welcome to Derry. So it talks to Marge one-on-one at one point, and he calls her Marge Tozier, and or Margaret Tozier, whatever. And she's like, Tozier, what are you talking about? Come to find out, she's Richie Tozier's mom, and she loved the little Richie that passed away. So she names her son after him when she marries whoever. So and it reveals he's like basically like it's almost like if anybody's like a Christian, like and I believe Jewish people believe in this too, but uh, like God's time is not linear. He exists outside of time, so there is no such thing as like past, present, future with him. Like it's all just one. And it reveals that he is a god. So he said, well, his future is also his past, and the past is the present and whatever. So basically, he doesn't really experience time linearly like mortals. So he says like your son and his friends will kill me, which and my death is also my birth and this and that whatever. And he gets real whatever into it, but basically letting you know he's kind of all everywhere all at once kind of thing, which will set up for the end. But now we know Will Hanlon is Mike Hanlon's dad, who unfortunately will pass away in a fire. And then Marge is Richie's mom. And at the beginning of the show, there's a Jewish family, and there's like a group of kids that you think were following them. Well, three of those kids, and they're looking for their one friend who eats it in the first episode, or gets eaten in the very first episode, or at the beginning of the first episode, actually. And then at the end of that episode, that group who's looking for him, almost all of them get brutally ended by it in a theater in front of Lily, who we do follow to the end, and Ronnie, who we follow to the end. Well, one of those kids was the younger of two brothers in this Jewish family. And I didn't catch their last name. Stanley Uris. That was it. Their last name is Uris, which was Stanley from the movies. I guess the older brother was its or his the older brother is his father, is Stanley's father. So that family's had it with it, I'll tell you. But Lily, we don't know anything about her future. Her dad passed away in a really bad factory incident they talk about earlier. Like they talked about it through the show, and it messed her and her mom up pretty bad, which I get. Ronnie ends up moving away by the end of by the end of the season. Richie passed away. Marge is, like I said, Richie's mom. Those are the only parents that we know of right now. Are those two, as far as I know? But yeah, what kind of to hit you with a couple other things here before the end. So they were gonna. The only way to stop it basically was they had a piece left that they were using as like a dagger. And they're like, well, we got to bury it in a certain spot, which is like the furthest out you can go and still be within Derry. You got to bury it in that spot under this tree. So they fight for it, and it's fighting against them and whatever. It eventually eats the general guy who gets a little too close, like an idiot, and it eats him. So Leroy takes a bullet in the leg, so he gets honorably discharged. So he's done with the military, he's been discharged, and now he's just going to go to like sheep farming, which is what we see the Hanlons doing in the It movies. But the guy who was the young Native American that was supposed to like he was supposed to be there, like be the next generation of like watchers of it, to babysit him, make sure he didn't get out and all that, and didn't do too much craziness. Uh, he took one in the neck from the military guys, so he's gone. And Rose asks the Hanlons, instead of moving out of Derry like what they planned, they're like, "Can you stay and help us protect against it?" And they agreed. So that sets up why, like, Will obviously, like, we haven't seen the future yet, but it seems like Will wasn't a part of that. It kind of got passed on to his son Mike, and Mike does end up sticking around and becoming the one to stick around. So maybe like subconsciously, he kind of knew that he was supposed to stay and protect against it and watch for him or whatever. So that's that's where we get Mike Hanlon and his backstory. Dick Halloran at the end, he says that he's leaving. He's like, "Well, I got a buddy that owns a hotel. He's gonna hook me up with a cook job." He's like, "How bad can a hotel be?" Obviously, if you know anything about Dick Halloran, he's talking about the Overlook Hotel. So he's gonna go there and experience all that crap before The Shining. So Dick just can't catch a break, man. Poor Dick. Um, a buddy of mine said he wants to see an Overlook Hotel show with Dick, and it could be cool because like Dick could be, we could get like flashbacks of the history of the hotel through Dick Halloran, like his like what he's seeing in his mind, since he sees all the past and the future and ghosts and all this stuff. That could be a cool show, and I love The Shining. Add in another layer of Stephen King. There you go. But at the another, like the last Easter egg they throw in for this, because you remember the one who interacted in It Chapter 2 with Ingrid Kirsch was Beverly. She went to her old apartment, and Kirsch lived there now. Come to find out, it was just It playing games with her the whole time, but he was posing as Ingrid Kirsch. Well, in this, we find out a little bit more about Beverly's past, because we see old Ingrid Kirsch in her room. By the way, the actress just passed away, like, I think this month or last month. So R.I.P. to her. That freaking, like, wow. But anyway, the one that plays Ingrid Kirsch is what I'm talking about, the old lady. But she's painting in her room, and she hears, like, people wailing and whatever. And she goes down the hall to see what's going on, and Beverly's mom had hung herself. And apparently she was there. So, and we see, like, Beverly trying to comfort her dad, and her dad, like, shoves her off. And then she turns around and sees Ingrid Kirsch, and she gives her that line that she does in chapter 2, where she's like, "Well, you know what they say, nobody who dies in Derry is really dead," or whatever. So, and she gives her that creepy smile, and Beverly's like, "What the f?" So that was the end of the show. But they show, it says "Welcome to Derry," and then it fades away and it says Chapter 1. So there's gonna be more. Hopefully, the buyout, merger, whatever, with either Netflix or Paramount. They're still fighting over it. Whichever happens, hopefully that doesn't mess up future plans here. And I think they could tie it all in, again, with Shining stuff. And they could tie it in with The Dark Tower that's coming out, because it is all connected. My favorite Stephen King book of all time is It. Some people will say the collective of the Dark Tower series is their favorite. Some people will say The Stand. Those are the usual. I don't think anybody says The Shining. The Shining is a good book, but it's just I don't know. It, in my opinion, it is like so deep and detailed and freaky and creepy. Like, I love that book. And so more It material. I'm happy with that. I'm happy this is going on. I would recommend Welcome to Derry. It's definitely a slow burn. My wife was like not into it until like the last 3 episodes, I think. So, excuse me, the first few episodes, it's just yes, it's a slow burn. Things do happen, but you don't even see Pennywise until like the last, I think, 3 episodes. Uh, which I think is fine because it's like a build up, and I like that. But some people don't. My wife is not a slow burn kind of person. She's like, get to it. If there's not enough action in a certain amount of time, then I'm gone. It is what it is. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Want to talk about Welcome to Derry. Want to talk about John Cena. Want to talk about, unfortunately, what happened with Rob Reiner and his wife. Um, yeah, rest in peace to them. Good career, John. Hustle, loyalty, respect, and all that. And I'm looking out for more It material and more Stephen King stuff. So I thinking about watching The Long Walk. It looks okay. I heard good things about it though, so I don't know. Watching the trailer, I was like, eh. I don't know. I mean, I like Stephen King, but it's literally called The Long Walk, and it just like it looks okay. But I've heard really good things. So let me see what I got on Rotten Tomatoes actually before I log off. Tomatoes.com. Do they have anything? Man, it's taking forever. Every time I'm streaming, that just like sucks up so much um, power. Does it have a rating yet? I'm curious. Nope. Ooh, Fallout Season 2 is coming. Looking forward to that for sure. I would like to see Zootopia 2, but I don't know when that'll be. What was I talking about? Jeez, The Long Walk. I'm getting distracted, y'all. The Long Walk. 88 to so and for like a horror thriller movie, that's really good actually. So looking forward to it. I will watch that. I just love me some Stephen King. I always do. His dialogue sometimes a little like ugh, like really just trash dialogue, but all in all, his stuff is really good. I like when they bring his stuff to the screen. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. I might stream tomorrow if I can think of enough stuff to yap about. But thank you all for being here. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I just came out with a new video yesterday. It's the top 5 Christmas movies you only watch once. I explain why. It's because either they're too emotional, too nihilistic, too violent, too creepy, whatever. And it's like, and all of those movies on there I like. I say they're good movies. They're just like some of them are like a product of their time, or it's not something you really you might watch them throughout the year maybe if you feel like watching something like that. But when it comes to like your Christmas movie rotation, they're not going to make the cut just because that's not the kind of stuff you usually want to put on for you're like you're decorating the tree, you're singing along to the usual happy Christmas carols or whatever, and then you got like these movies on in the background. It's like, and like I said, they're all good movies, but they just don't fit the annual rotation. At least in my opinion. I would love to hear you guys like what your thoughts are on that, or if you think that even that's a thing. It's just something I thought of. That's why there's only, I mean, there's 5 and then 2 honorable mentions. So check it out. Let me know what you think. And next week on Monday, right before Christmas, going into Christmas, baby, I'm dropping the top 10 Christmas specials of Doctor Who. I'm actually excited to work on that one. It is it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. But anyway, thank you all for joining me. I'll see you all later. And like I said, if I have anything to talk about tomorrow, I will go live and I'll let you all know about it. Otherwise, See you later.